I actually am frequently called a rules lawyer in a lot of games because I know the rules really well, but that works out really nicely for this group because I'm the only one who that really is true for. And that's actually how I originally ended up being the DM of the group, was basically playing like a really weird mix of 2nd edition, 1st edition, and 5th edition, just because they didn't consistently have books for anything, and they've just been trying to adapt over time, and it was like, what rule set are you using? so I just came up with the assumption that it was just 5th edition, and I knew the 5th edition rules well enough that I was able to keep correcting people to the point where they were like, just like, okay, sure, why don't you, where the DM was kind of getting fed up with me, and it was like, why don't you be the DM for the day? And so I prepared a really nice start to an adventure. And then they were like, I was saying that to try to show how hard it is, but actually, you know what, you can be the DM. That was good. So that was a very fun set of circumstance. And so that's one of the nice things is if it's not a rule that will matter in the grand scheme of things, it just doesn't matter. And if it does matter, then I can point it out and people just kind of trust it. And sometimes I'll even, when I think it'd be, when I need to, I can even kind of make up a couple rules because no one really checks and they kind of just trust it because I'm the only one who's really deeply knowledgeable with the expansion books and the entire game.
Is this the only time when this particular group of kids hangs out, or do you know each other?
I don't know any of the kids outside of the game. Forrest, the one who said he didn't want to be interviewed, it asked me if I could play or DM in one of his games, so I might soon have an out-of-game connection with one of them. I do know that a couple of them do see each other out of game, though. Like, I'm pretty sure Max and the non-Tassie girl is have an improv class together, but I don't know all the specifics.
That's why I'm having people saying the story.
Yeah.
I'm not going to remember what it was. All right. I think we're done here. If you want to send in the next one.
Okay.
Continue on.
I did actually have one personal thing about D&D that I really like, which is when I originally got into D&D, although I don't know if it's correlation or causation, one of the weird quirks about me is I'm a very high-functioning person. I think I had like an IQ of 160 in kindergarten when I was tested for GT in kindergarten, but I actually am in the 2E category of kids of often once you go past a certain point of intelligence, you're getting mental disabilities with that, and so I actually have a whole host of things. The big one is multiple areas of the autism spectrum and ADHD as well. Although the two kind of cancel out, I do take medications for the anger part. But one thing, I'm not sure if it was correlation or causation, but D&D is actually. But when I started D&D, I actually was doing started to do much better with both the social recognition and also to a lesser extent the writing, which was always a hard part because I've had dysgraphia, which has made me very averse to writing, which is basically dyslexia, but for putting words down instead of reading them. And so D&D has actually been personally a really important part of my life due to that. And so I've noticed since I've started playing, and especially being the dungeon master, I've gotten really good at being able to read those emotions because I often need a plan on, okay, the players are going to act, the players are going to see this, and then they're going to act like this because I want to make them go here without, and this is one of my things that my dad kept telling me to do, of the biggest sin of being a dungeon master is removing the player's agency, and so you need to, instead of just removing their agency, you need to think of how they're going to act and then plan on using their natural response to something to get them to go somewhere so that you don't have to make this massive branching tree. You only have to make this small pathway, but they still have instead of giving them free choice, you give them the illusion of choice by making sure that when there is a choice, you kind of know which one they're going to pick because it's just how the group acts.
So the game and the club to a lesser extent is kind of helping you.
Yeah, it's kind of helped me, although I still have a bit of a hard time relating I can now pretty consistently say if someone is angry, this is how they're going to be acting. And now now the only part that I really struggle with is correlating that with, okay, what is this person feeling based on how they're acting? But I can now say that but now at least when I'm dealing with my family, I can know that if I ask my mom if she's angry and she says yes, then I can pretty consistently know what that's going to mean, as opposed to just kind of having that be okay, she's angry, I don't know how this is, I don't know how to deal with this. So that's one way that D&D is actually.
So the game that's currently going on. So, I'll do my best, but last week I had this ear thing going on. Oh, and so I had to leave halfway through. But I can tell you about. So what happened is should I tell you about what happened to my character, or should I tell you from the story from my character's perspective? So my character is a gnome, deep gnome, wizard, evocation wizard, and he had this traumatic experience in the past where he was a treasure hunter, but he had this vision, and he was never the same before. He's slow and methodical and a good student, kind of. But now he's all stuttery, and his sentences are broken up and all that stuff. So he was in the rainforest at the time with his buddy Rill, who's in that group, but not currently. I don't think he's coming today. And he was also a water genasi pirate was his partner. And so we saw them falling from the sky, and they landed, and so all of a sudden, we were investigating this temple. And so they lay by the temple, and we're starting to figure this out, and we do this riddle, answers stairs, super simple. None of us actually thought of it. It took way longer than it should have. And then we went to this next room where we had these rocks, and we had to say the curses, what the cursed rocks, what were the curses. We had to figure it out by the people giving us clues without obviously defying their curses. Like one of them was the curse of S. You could only say words with the letter S in it. So he was like, my curse, or he was trying to enunciate on it. It was kind of funny. And so we went to the next room, and he had torches, and we had to light them up in RGB, RGB, and so I used my control flames, and I brought the flame, kind of a little ember of flame around, and I lit them, and I figured out which ones were which, and all the time he is you guys watch Stranger Things? Well, there's a lady, and she has just a cycle of things that goes through her head and that she says, but even though she thinks of other things, because of something traumatic that happened in her past, did the same thing with this character. He says different things unless he has a really strong opinion and he thinks he's figured something out, and then he'll say the word stuttery. Otherwise, he's like, beacon of hope, beacon of hope, beacon of hope, and firebird, firebird, all this stuff. And everyone's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, RPing.
Are you enjoying it? What are you playing in this game?
I'm a human, and my name is Zinra Nero. My background to be a soldier, and she's very sneaky.
Is that different to you in your own?
I am kind of sneaky.
What else would be similar to your character and how you act?
She likes the color silver.
Silver goes with everything.
I like silver.
Do you look forward to Wednesdays coming in on this class?
Yes.
What's your thought process when you wake up first thing in the morning and you've got 2 hours to go until you're at the point of the day? So tell me about the story that's going on. Where are we?
So right now, I wasn't here for a couple weeks, but from what I heard, we had a whole thing, a farm, a drug lord thing, and I think we were staying at some sort of hotel, and Fiona, I think that's her name, conveniently like Shrek, his wife. That's kind of weird. But Fiona, she demanded something, and we showed it to her, and she was like, "What is this?" And we're like, "Well, it's what you asked for." And she's like, "No, no, no." And then it was here. So from what I know, that's what's up. But before we had this really nice game. When I first joined, I escaped my Joseph's sister before she went to school. She was there, and she helped me escape from a prison. That was our first story when I first joined. She helped me escape from a prison, and we went into this deep crater hole thing, and there were people throwing bombs in there. And the game has always been really fun. So it's fun.
In the span of a couple of weeks, you've had a bit of an adventure. It sounds like.
Playing.
Yeah, like one of our people that you interviewed, Mia, she uses a lot of her voices from improv, and she incorporates that into her D&D. And the thing is, she has a very high voice, and so she always plays high voice characters. And it's always funny when she tries to go low, because it's just like she's speaking like I am right now. That's like the lowest she can go.
Are the things that you're picking up from like the improv class or any of the other extracurricular stuff, is that helping with your D&D play?
Some of it is. I usually have to. Usually the real D&D stuff I have to just research online or just go through the many books and find what I need. But usually for other, not like the rules of the game or different abilities and spells that you can use, or different weapons of all sorts of D&D, but stuff like character backstory and background, I usually do that and incorporate some things from the area in my life that I have right now and put it into the character's backstory, some of it, and then some of it I just brainstorm throughout the week.
And then the last real question I have is, like, your dungeon master told us that what he's doing in this club is helping him pick up on signals. Like he's on, not.
If you're working well with your group and playing well with your group, like I watched one of your other video, it's playing with a family, playing like a family. Sometimes it's harder to do it, and sometimes you grow with that bond the more you play.
You consider these people family?
Not yet. We still mess around a lot, and so I consider it friend group.